Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another Plugin Roundup here on iThemes Training. It is October 2018 and we've got a great list of plugins that have been added to or recently updated in the WordPress plugin directory. My name is Nathan Ingram. I'm the host here at iThemes Training, and if you're just joining us in GoToWebinar, make sure you head to the chat room, ithemes.com/chat. That is where the handout of plugins is located, and we're going to have some fun today over the next hour or so looking at this fun list of stuff. However, before we begin, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is we now have a release schedule for WordPress 5.0. I'm going to drop this article link from WP Tavern there in the chat. If you're not following WP Tavern, you should. It is probably the best repository of WordPress news. And the official release of WordPress 5.0 is November the 19th. The release candidate 1, Beta 1, is October 19th, and Beta 1 is October 19th, and RC1 is October 30th. So that is now the schedule for the release of WordPress 5.0 and Gutenberg. However, if you read the article, there is still a little bit of question mark, because if you happen to look at your calendar, you will discover, if you are in the States, that November 19th is Thanksgiving week. And that's, in my opinion, a horrible time to launch a huge release of WordPress. So hopefully they are going to deal with that. And there's a statement from Gary Pendergrass, who is leading the merge of Gutenberg into Core. And he says, there's a chance it's going to need additional time, so there's a backup, there's a fallback plan of release candidate 1 in January and the final secondary release there in the later January. So I'm hoping this is more the timeline that we see. I think it would be a lot of trouble. I mean, Gutenberg is going to be a lot of trouble for a lot of folks to begin with, but doing that right at the peak of holiday season, the week of Black Friday is, wow, that just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So hopefully they will delay that until January, but we'll have to see. This is currently, November 19th is currently the stated release date for WordPress 5. Now, if you have not gotten Classic Editor installed on your WordPress sites, especially if you're managing sites for clients, I would certainly do that unless you're 100% prepared for Gutenberg. Install and activate Classic Editor, and that will disable Gutenberg even when WordPress 5.0 ships. You can do that now. It's not going to affect the current version of WordPress, but when WordPress 5.0 ships, Gutenberg will be disabled by default if you have the Classic Editor plugin active on your site. So, there you go. It is coming, and better be ready. All right. Let's dive into our list of plugins. Again, the handout is there in the chat room. I'm having some mouse trouble today, so you may see some weirdness jumping around here. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but have not had time to troubleshoot that. It just started, of course, like 10 minutes before the webinar, so may have some weirdness happening here. We're going to start off with a fun plugin called Real-Time Title Checker. Real-Time Title Checker. Now, if you have a website that is maybe blog heavy, or it's a WooCommerce site with lots of products, or a site that has lots and lots of content, maybe you've run into the issue where sometimes it's hard to make sure that your pages or your posts or posts in your custom post type or your products are named fairly uniquely, because it's not great to have your titles similar to each other for SEO purposes and other reasons. So this is going to help you deal with that issue. Real-time title checker. Let's activate that. And what this is going to do, let's just go add a new post. And as we start typing, watch this area under here, because what's going to happen is, as I start to type, it's going to start matching existing titles that come close. So I think I've got some lorem ipsum. No, I guess not. So we got to have some. All right, so look here what we've got. So I'm starting to type LO, and it's starting to match things in the WordPress database that are similar. So let me actually go to a blog post. So just sit right back in here, a tail. So let's type tail, and oh, just a reminder, there's a post right here already called, this. So it's going to let you know if there are anything similar in any of your content in the whole WordPress database. So again, this is super helpful if you have a site with tons of content and you need to make sure you're not duplicating post titles or product titles or whatever. Carrie, you're exactly right. So if you have a post called how to and you have lots of those, well, then you're probably going to get a lot of results. That's why you're going to, you'll keep typing and it'll obviously narrow those down. But what's nice is it all happens by Ajax, and you can hide this if you want, but it immediately starts updating this list of potential matches here. Ben, does it work for products? Yes, it does. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and activate our WooCommerce plugin, because we have a couple of dummy products in there, which I believe are called, Test 1 and Test 2, and whatever that is. Let's throw that away. So if we go to add another product and we type test, look at that. We've got our Gutenberg test page that's there. There's a trash post. It even finds things in the trash. So there's a test there, our 2 WooCommerce products, but it tells you right there what they are. It is published and it is a product. So it's really helpful if you have tons of stuff in order to keep you from duplicating titles. So that's really it. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but that could be a great tool for you if you run into that issue. That is real-time title checker. Any more questions or comments on this one? The question is, does it have links? No, it doesn't link anywhere. It does give you the URL here, so you could go there if you wanted. It might be nice if it linked over to that post, but that might make this Ajax generation a little slower than it is. Right now, it's pretty quick. Okay, that's Real-Time Title Checker. Pretty nice little simple plugin that could be helpful. Okay, here's another one. Show Remote IP. Now, I like this plugin. I'm using a similar plugin on a site right now, because how many of you run into the issue where, for whatever reason, you need to figure out what your client's IP address is, or someone's IP address? For example, I'm sure this never happens to any of you, but if you're running something like iThemes security on your site and your client logs in a whole bunch of times with the wrong password, they get locked out, right? And sometimes you may need to unlock that client, but you might not know what their IP address is. And yes, you can go to a website like whatismyipaddress.com or something like that, or even in Google, you can type, I think you can just type IP address, that's what it used to be. But a lot of, like me, in my ISP, I have a hex IP, because that's the way my ISP does things. And this doesn't help us at all. So what do you do in that case? Well, you need something that's going to show the actual standard IP address. And this plugin is going to do that. So we're going to activate it, and we are going to copy this shortcode, and let's activate our plugin. And now when we go to a page on our site, let's drop in the shortcode. Having mouse issues. There is our IP address right there. So I have a page on my personal business site that it's actually styled up so it's big, giant, huge, so they can't miss it. But it will show the actual IP address that you will need to have to unlock them. So that's a pretty nifty plugin, and plus it can keep them on your website. There are a lot of other external websites that might provide this functionality, but with a lot of those IP address sites, there's like a million ads on them, and I just don't like to. I don't usually like sending clients to websites with tons of ads like that. Now, Antonio is mentioning, yeah, this one has less than 10 installs, and that's because it's brand new. That is, it's been less. It's probably actually just 6 weeks or so old. This Plugin Roundup usually has plugins that have, they're very new. That's our point, is these are plugins that have been added to or updated in the WordPress directory in the last 30 days. Carrie is asking, how would this conflict with GDPR? No issues whatsoever, because we're not storing this information. We're only echoing that information out on the page. So you're not actually keeping a log of any personally identifiable information, so there is no issue at all with that. Question, does the IP address only show for logged in users? No, you can go to this page right now. Just go right here, and it will show you your IP address. This is basically just a PHP function that is grabbing the current user's IP address and echoing it out on the page. That's all it's doing. Ben is saying IP address doesn't work in Google. Ben, that could be a Swedish thing. Google may not allow that function in Sweden. Melanie, kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you have a client that may be locked out because of a security plugin, or if you need to get their IP address for some reason, this is a simple way to have your client go to a page on your site and grab their IP address if you need it for whatever reason. Okay, that is show remote IP. So let's get rid of that short code, and we will move on. Here is our next plugin, which is called Image Copy Track. Image Copy Track. We've done a number of plugins from Jordy Meow. A lot of his plugins are related to the WordPress media library. He's got a lot of really nice plugins, and this is the newest one that he's added. And what this basically does is connect WordPress to the Copy Track service. Now, normally, one of the filters that I use for what plugins make it into the Roundup is that it's not really based on a third-party service. Now, this is one that breaks that rule, because this really is just a link to Copy Track. But I think this is one that you guys need to be aware of. If you have custom photography on your site and you don't want it to be stolen, or if you're doing sites for photographers or artists of any sort, Copy Track is a service that helps you deal with image theft. And it's very similar in technology to what Getty Images used all those years ago, where they actually go and scan the web for images that you upload into their service. And they will contact the infringer and deal with the whole collection process and everything in order to make those things right. Now, Copy Track, again, this is a service you ought to be aware of if you are a photographer, or if you have any sort of proprietary art or photography on your site. It's a really good, simple service to deal with copyright enforcement. Now, what this plugin allows you to do, and we can't really demonstrate it because I don't have a Copy Track account, but let me just activate it, and you'll see that when we go into the media library, there's now a column here where you can click Upload Now, and that image will be uploaded directly to Copy Track from the WordPress media library. Now, you cannot upload in bulk. Unfortunately, that's a limitation of the Copy Track API. They only allow one image submitted at a time, but this is a way to easily get images out of WordPress and into Copy Track if that's something, for a particular client or yourself that would be helpful. So be aware of Copy Track, and here's a great plugin to integrate it with WordPress. Pete Taubman is asking, if we install this on client sites, will it identify images on our client sites that may be using not so good images? No, this is the other way. This is, you have an original image, you upload it to Copy Track, and they search the web for that image and any infringers that are using it. Susan, what happens when they find something? So I've not used Copy Track, so I can't speak to that directly, but my understanding is they would likely email you. But they're going to, you will have set up a fee or whatever to use that art, and they will go through a series of emails with the infringer, and they handle all that process and collect the payment. And I think, they get 30% of the settlement. That's where they make the money. So that is Image Copy Tract. Pretty nice little add-on if you have clients or yourself fit into this category of folks. All right, any more questions on this one? Okay, moving on down the list to Admin Menu Editor. Now, this is a neat little plugin. I'm always looking for clever ways to streamline the admin area. And we did a webinar, I don't know, several weeks ago on preparing a site for the client. And we did even a more in-depth version of that content in the Beaver Builder Developer course a couple weeks ago, or was that last week? Last week. I normally use Advanced Access Manager for this functionality. However, it is a gigantic, huge plugin, and it does a lot more than just cleaning up the admin menu and meta boxes. This is a plugin that's very simple, and it only cleans up the admin menu, but it does a great job at it. A really, really good job. There's a number of plugins out there that do this, and as you look at those plugins, gosh, the UI is usually awful. This one is pretty straightforward. So let's go in there and activate this one. Admin Menu. It's called Admin Menu Cleaner, Admin Menu Editor, but in the plugin list, it's called Admin Menu Restriction. That's interesting. But look at the settings page. You have to choose a role. Let's use Editor. And this is left over from when I was playing with it the other day. Here's an exact copy of that WordPress admin menu and what the editor would see. Look at that. And whatever you want them to see, you just turn those things on. So let's say we're not using categories or tags. We won't put that in their menu. We want to let them do the whole media library, all the pages. We don't want them fooling with widget content. That's something that is particular to the iThemes builder theme. Let's say we don't even want them messing with our custom post type here, but we will let them access their profile. We don't want them messing with pods or anything in tools. Let's save those changes. And now let's jump over to our users and use, by the way, the plugin that adds this switch to is called User Switching. It's one we've talked about quite a bit here on iThemes training webinars. User Switching. And this, I'm going to click this, and that's going to flip me over to my editor user that has a role editor. And look at that. Look how clean that is. Isn't that nice? This is just a much simpler way to clean up the admin menu. Now let's say we decide we want to give them access to stuff and all of these custom taxonomies underneath it. We just click there and turn it green. Whoops. I'm getting some sort of caching issue. This happened the other day. With user switching. Not quite sure what's happening there. Let's try again. There we go. Pretty nice. Carrie, how well does it work with something like Gravity Forms that typically restricts the role to begin with? Okay, good question. Now, this plugin does not allow a role to see something that it is restricted from seeing otherwise. So, for example, the editor user in WordPress cannot see anything WooCommerce. WooCommerce has its own role called Shop Manager. But the standard WordPress editor doesn't see WooCommerce, and that is reflected here when we go to Admin Menu Editor and we choose Editor. Notice the WooCommerce, it's not in here anywhere. So it doesn't enable menus that are not available to that role to begin with, if that makes sense. And I think that also answers your question, Paul. It does not allow functionality above the authority level of the role. So it is only restricting the menus that would otherwise be seen by that role. So like, for example, for whatever reason, Pods allows all this stuff to be seen by the editor. And we want to hide all that. So we did, and they don't see it. So this is a really simple, clean, best UI I've seen for a menu editor so far. And we've seen a lot of these plugins, so that's saying a lot. Any more questions on this one? That's Admin Menu Editor. Okay. Let's go deactivate a few of these plugins. All right. Moving on down the list to another plugin by the same developer as Admin Menu Editor. This fellow has added a couple of plugins to the directory now, and this one is called Responsivity. And this one's a neat little plugin because what it lets you do is view the way your site looks at different responsive breakpoints. Stacy says she hears water running. I think what you hear is the fan in my MacBook Pro, which has decided to turn on now for some reason. Sorry about that. All right, responsivity. And let's have a look at what this is going to let us do. There it is, under Tools. All right. So we want to give it a page to kind of start with, and let's just use blog as our starting point. And we want to show, it gives you these certain device sizes that you can see. Let's do iPhone 6, that one. And iPad and MacBook Pro 15-inch, and that's good. All right, so now we'll open it. Look at that. So here's our view of what our site looks like in this iPhone 6. And here it is, horizontal. And here's our iPad. And by the way, you can click around in here. This is like it's iframing this stuff in. So you can click around and look at different sizes. There's our site horizontal. And here's our MacBook, which my screen is too big to see at the moment. But you get the idea. So the question is, isn't this similar to Responsinator? Yep, it does. However, what this lets you do it on your site if the Responsinator has an issue or whatever. Carrie's asking, does the ability to view different sizes already exist in the customizer? Yes, it does. However, I believe you can do this, hang on a minute, without being logged in. Yeah. So, oh, you don't have access to see this page. Shoot. I thought you could do this in a no. Okay, so you do have to be logged in. The difference is it puts these little device frames around it, so it's kind of cool. And you can change the settings here of what you want to see in real time as well. Okay, and there is, I thought I'd seen this. You can email, for example, your client, and if you look way down here in the bottom, the subject line of the email is, here's the responsive view of the site, and you can click that and send, I guess it's a special link. I don't have mail set up on this user, so I can't really see that. Stacy's asking, is it only Apple products? You can set up custom sizes, but yeah, the devices, this is apparently a Mac-loving developer, so all the device frames are just Apple sizes and Apple frames. I mean, are there other products than Apple? I don't know. Okay. All right. Any other questions on this one? It can be kind of a cool little tool, especially being able to send this over to your client. So that is responsivity. All right, next one down the list is a plugin by my friend Micah Wood called Shortcode Scrubber. Shortcode Scrubber, and we had a similar plugin to this on a Roundup maybe a year ago called Shortcode's Finder. I think Shortcode Scrubber is a little simpler to use, and what it does is go through and find all the shortcodes that are currently defined by your themes and plugins, shows you where they're used, and then it also shows shortcodes that are left over from themes or plugins that have been removed. So it lets you find shortcodes throughout your content. So for example, if you've ever had the hassle of converting a site that was made in perhaps Visual Composer or now WP Bakery, and the whole thing is full of 8 jillion shortcodes, and now you got to go through and find them. Or maybe you were using a plugin for a while and it embedded something with a shortcode, and now you're not using that anymore, and that shortcode is still on all kinds of pages. It's hard to find where all those are. This plugin is going to show where those things are located. So Shortcode Scrubber, and that's under, it has its own little menu item here, shortcodes. All right. So this, first of all, and this is where it's a little different from the other plugin that we saw, you first have a page of all the shortcodes defined on your site. So there are currently 34 shortcodes defined by themes and plugins on this site. So there, you have a lot of pod stuff, there's some WooCommerce stuff down there, and it just shows you everything that is currently defined right there. Now, we can go here to post usages, and this shows us, all right, here's a page on our site, and these are the shortcodes in use on that page. And here, widget usages. Now, we don't have anything going there, so that doesn't really help us. This would be shortcodes used in widgets. So, for example, we'll just make one real quick. Let's go over to widgets. Oh, this is one we'll do in a minute. And let's just grab a where is, there it is, custom HTML. And let's just put in a shortcode. And this doesn't mean anything, it's just going to say shortcode. But this plugin ought to find it because it's looking for anything wrapped in brackets. So now if we look at widget usages, yeah, there we go. So there's a custom HTML widget with the shortcode called shortcodes right there. And so we can click edit, and it'll take us right to, well, it's not going to help us here. Widgets, yeah, iThemes Builder does not like the customizer very much. But in another theme, this would take you right to editing that particular widget. And then we've got manage filters, where you can actually override what a shortcode does. That's a little more complicated. But like, for example, here, this shortcode here, child pages tabs, that was from an old Plugin Roundup, and this plugin no longer exists on the site. Same as this here, MKS map. These were from plugins that we had on old Plugin Roundups. They are still existing on the site, so we could go there and just clean up that whole page. And so real easy, go find the shortcodes. And this one too. Find those shortcodes that are out of date and no longer used. So pretty cool. And Mike is a good developer. He's actually presented for us a couple times here on iThemes Training. He did a REST API webinar and some other things. Good guy, and he's made a great plugin here. Any questions or comments on this one? Shortcode Scrubber. And Carrie, I would agree with you. This is probably not one that I would use, keep active on a site. But it's really, really good for just kind of doing an audit of a site and see if there are any shortcodes left over that, from old plugins or whatever. Or to clean up an existing site. Yep. Okay. Moving on down the list to the next one, which is called One-Click Print. Now, click to print is not something that's used on a lot of websites these days because you can pretty much access by screen wherever. But there are certain use cases where it would be helpful for people to print out a page or something about the page. Maybe it's a recipe site, or maybe it's directions, or maybe it's product details or something like that. What this plugin is going to let you do is you drop in a shortcode, it puts a print icon, and then you can define in the plugin settings like a class or an HTML attribute, and that is what the plugin will print. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go and activate one-click print. And we had that active on a page. What page did I have that on? We'll use our shortcode scrubber to find it. It is on here, page 2. Oh, by the way, notice in this shortcodes plugin, the ones that are in red are from plugins that are not currently active on the site. Gravity Forms is installed but not active. Therefore, the plugin or the shortcode here is red. Same for this one. But this plugin is now active, so it's gray. Kind of cool, right? So we want page 2. Let's go there. Okay. So here is our little print icon, and you can make this look however you want within reason. Let's look at one-click print, because what we have to do is tweak what the target of the printing is. So let's do this. Let's just edit this page real quick, and let's, maybe you've got a recipe, or like Antonio's saying, a feature sheet for the realtor or whatever, and you wrap that in a div with a class featured or whatever. I don't know. And what I'm going to do, let me just grab some Ipsum text. I guess I could use what was already on the page. Okay, so what we've done is we've just kind of set up a div. You can do anything. You can target whatever you want, but I'm using this class featured, and it's wrapping just this bit of text right here. And I'm going to go right here. Our default target attribute is .featured, so it's going to target the featured class. And there's a bunch of different options for the print icon. We're just going to keep it with what it is. There's some other options here. We're just going to save it, and I want to show you this. Update, view page. All right. So when I click print, look at that. It only prints what is inside the target that I've specified. And you can have that target be anything you want. It can be an HTML attribute. It can be a div, class, or ID. Anything like that. And that's what it's going to print. See how that works? It's pretty cool. Oh, fun. Wonder what happened there. Ooh, Chrome crashed. Awesome. Marcy's asking, does it only work on that particular page? If the same thing exists on another page, what will happen? Yeah, it's just this page. So the button looks at whatever's on the current page and finds that attribute, and that's what it prints. So you could set up, something on, you could set up something on your site where, maybe there's a block on that page, and, you have the, print this, you click there, and that's what it prints. Now, the drawback is this is your print target for the whole site. It'd be nice if maybe in the shortcode you could define what the print attribute was, but currently, it's only going to print whatever you put here everywhere on the site. And you can only use one target attribute here. Now, there's some documentation about that. And the question is, what's a good use case? Well, again, maybe it's like I say, it could be a recipe, it could be a realtor, or maybe it's something about a product on your site, and you've got the spec sheet, for example, and you could have it print just the spec portion of the page rather than having to print the whole page. And it's a nice clean print rather than having all your menu and header and all that stuff. When you go to print something out of a browser, it's you get all this stuff, and it's just not great. So this will let you specify just the bit that you want to print, and that's what it prints. Susan is saying, do I understand it properly that we can't have different spec sheets? Oh, sure you can. So it's just, okay, here's a good for example. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to move this whole thing to another page. Let's go to, we'll go over here to page 3, edit the page, and let's just drop this in. This is what we'll print from page 3. Okay, and this can all be different. It doesn't matter what's inside the div. It could be, I'm just going to just copy this and paste it a bunch of times. Okay. Update, view the page. Now we still have page 2, and it does exactly what it did before, right? Just like this. Now when we go to page 3, we still have the print button, and it's looking for the featured class on this page. So we click here, and that's what it prints. So it's looking for whatever attribute you define on the page where the print button exists, and that's what it prints. Okay. That's one-click print. Any more questions or comments on that one? Clean up my mess here. This mouse is killing me today. Okay. P. Taubman, can multiple feature class areas be on one page and in different areas on the page? I don't know. I do not know the answer to that question. My guess is probably not. You'd have to play with it and see. All right, let's move along to the next item on the list here. WPMK PDF generator. So while on the subject of printing, have you ever wanted to have something that will real quick convert a page or a post or product to a PDF file? This will let you do it. So let's activate this one. And let's just go to our page. And we need to add a shortcode. Let's see. Apparently I did not put the shortcode in my notes, so that's not helpful. Let's go to settings. All right, so here is our shortcode, which if you're using a page builder, you could drop this in anywhere, or if you're using a template tag, there it is right there in the PHP code. We can choose whatever PDF we want it to look like, or we could have a button, and then you can set your paper sizes. This is global paper sizes, so you have to figure that out of what you want. Save the settings, and let's add this shortcode to the top of our page. Click our PDF button, and we just downloaded the PDF. Look at that. Pretty nice, actually, right? Gets our whole site. It'll work with images if we want. There it is. So pretty nice. Now be aware that anytime you are creating PDFs, crunching out a PDF is a big resource hog on a server. If you have a slow server, shared server, this can quickly use up your memory if it's happening a lot, or if the PDF is very large for whatever reason. Maybe it's a bunch of images, or if it's a really long bit of content, whatever. But if you have a case where you want a page turned into a quick PDF, there you go. And this is a whole lot nicer than printing from a browser and saving it to a PDF as part of the print process. Plus it just prints it and downloads it and you're done. So pretty cool. Any questions or comments on this one? WPMK PDF generator. Okay, moving on down to the next one, which is this month's simple but useful plugin number 1 called Post View Count. Now, how many of you have a client, perhaps, who says, I just want to know how many times the thing was viewed? They don't want to get into analytics. They don't want to, all the detail there. They would just like to see how often a particular post is viewed. That is what this is going to do, and it makes it very, very simple. So let us activate Post View Count. And what I would like you all to do is go to this link. Everybody go here. Just load that page up. Did we not activate? Hang on a minute. Maybe we didn't activate the plugin. Post View Count. Interesting. Oh, we have to turn it on. Okay. So you have to enable it. So we'll just enable it for everything here. And by the way, don't count, and you can do this. So if somebody's logged in with any of these roles, you don't count for all those roles so you don't get false count. All right, now go to that link. And it just gives you a view column. And so your client can see how many times a thing was viewed. They'll also see it in the editor right there. So it's quick and simple, but if you have somebody that does not want to get into analytics, they can just log in right here and see how many times it was viewed. Simple but useful Post View Count. Yeah, it doesn't count multiple visits. So it does give you a good, accurate count. So if you're like Paul and you reloaded the page 15 times, it doesn't count that. It's smarter than that. Okay. Pretty nifty little plugin. Works really well. Can it work for pod-driven pages? If the page is a WordPress page, yes. If it's a pod's dynamic page, no. Ah, look at that. Carrie, you are correct. The URL is from the very first plugin. I apparently did not update that. Yeah, Post View Count. All right. This month's simple but useful plugin number 2 is called WP Widget Clipboard. Now this is a nice little plugin. It does something pretty interesting. How many of you have ever needed to duplicate a widget area? And this is becoming less and less needed in the world of page builders, but maybe you have, you add a new page and it's got another widget area and you want to copy one widget from one spot to another. Okay, this is going to help you. Now, for years, the iThemes Builder theme has had duplicate sidebar widget, and that's been real helpful to do this. But if you're not using iThemes Builder, WP Widget Clipboard is going to help you out on this problem. Let's activate it. Okay, it's already active. And we go here to Widgets, and watch this. So we've got a number of different, let me put a bunch of stuff over here. All right, so let's just say for whatever reason, we want to move everything that, or clone in a sense, everything that's in this sidebar over to this one. Okay? What we're going to do is check the boxes and notice up here we've got 4 copied widgets. 3, 2, all right? I'm going to drag this now here. Awesome. Hang on. All right, we have a JavaScript conflict of some sort. Hang on. Something is conflicting. Let me disable a bunch of stuff here. I wonder what's going on. Oh, that is so weird. It's not dragging anymore. That is so strange. This worked over and over again the other day. I wonder what's going on. Huh. Well, what you should be able to do is drag this one down here and it just copies everything. How weird is that? Well, I don't know. This was working perfectly the other day. I don't see anything that is... Let's see if it's post view count. I wonder if that was it. Hang on. No, it's not working. Well, okay. Not sure what to tell you. My guess is if you try this on your side, it'll work. I'm not sure what's going on here. That is really, really strange. No, it's not working. Well, I would encourage you to try that if this is something that's helpful to you. It worked for me fine the other day. I do not know why it is not working now. Look at that. Wow, that's okay. I wonder if there's something going on. Let's just check our JavaScript console. There's no errors. Maybe we have to have something in there first. Well, that's what it's supposed to do. But it looks like you can't do that until there's something already in the widget area. That's awfully strange. But there you go. That's how it's supposed to work. So you can copy whichever widgets you want. It can even be a widget in a different widget area. And there they go. That's really strange. Yes, so it actually pastes them in as they are with all their settings and everything. Let me just show you an example of that. So if we here in this custom HTML, it's got the shortcode in there from before. If we paste this one here, it brings it in with all the content and everything. Does it assign a new ID for each widget? It would have to be a different ID, yeah, because WordPress has to know what they are. Yeah, John, that's a good point. That's what I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure how many folks use widgets like this, particularly on older themes. This is a, widgets are in use a lot more on older themes. but in a page builder world, widgets are not nearly used like they used to be. Okay, moving on down the list to, this is a good plugin called WP Safe Mode. Now, you may recognize this developer's name if you use the Events Manager for WordPress, one of the long-standing good events plugins. Marcus Sykes wrote that a long time ago. I've used it on a number of projects. And this is called WP Safe Mode, written by a developer who likely created it because, hey, all the time he was having to tell people to deactivate your plugins and themes and all that to solve problems. So what this lets you do is view your site temporarily with certain themes and plugins enabled, only as you, so it doesn't affect the rest of your site visitors. So for those of you who, as you're troubleshooting an issue, if you're told by support to deactivate all your plugins and your theme, this is a really nice way to do it. So let's go over to Safe Mode. And here's our options. So do we want to switch themes in safe mode? Yes. We'll go to 2016. It's just for me. And I want to only have enabled WP Safe Mode. Now I can grab other plugins to leave enabled if I want to. And I can even turn on or off an MU plugin, which is really nice. So normally you have to have some sort of a, you have to go into FTP or something to deal with your MU plugins. So let's save. And now let's enable safe mode for only me. And when I view the site, boom, there it is. Now if I go to this, if I go to my site in an incognito window, there it is. Or if any of you went to the site right now, you would see it as expected. But for me, it is as though all the plugins are disabled and I'm in the 2016 theme. So super, super helpful plugin. I can go site-wide if I want to, or just me. You can also, if for some reason you need to have other people besides you see the site in safe mode, but not everybody else, you can put the IP addresses of people you want it to see in safe mode in that box. And Stacy, that's a good point. This is a nice way to enable plugins one at a time. So that's WP Safe Mode. There's always a few really, really good jewels on these plugin roundups, and I think this is one of them. Particularly if you find yourself troubleshooting, it's a nice one. More questions or comments on this one? That is Safe Mode by Marcus Sykes. All right, moving on down the list to Minimalist Editor. How many of you use the distraction-free mode when you are composing? In WordPress. You use this ever? It's not truly a distraction-free mode. And Stacy's saying no, she uses a text editor, that sort of thing. Yeah, this distraction-free has been there for a while. I like a program, listen to me. There's a little app for Mac called Byword. I love this. It is just a text editor. You can change the fonts or whatever, but it's just a big gray screen, and it just lets you get content down. I love this approach because it is dirt simple, and it just lets you get the content out. Now, distraction-free mode is better than nothing, but you still have all the stuff. All right, now watch what Minimalist Editor does. Activate. And now let's go back into a post. Now when we click distraction free, look what we get. I like this a lot. So this will let you compose in what I would call a truly distraction-free mode. And if you move your mouse outside the writing area, it comes back to, you get your menus and stuff back. But this will let you type for real in a truly distraction-free mode. That is called Minimalist Editor. Now there's some settings that will give you, let's see, is it appearance? Yeah. There's dark mode and a sans serif mode. So you can choose to write in a sans serif font if you would prefer. And I kind of like the dark mode better than light mode. There you go. Questions or comments on this one? Yeah, I missed a couple of these links. I'll fix those and re-upload the handout when we're finished. All right. Moving on down the list to this month's party like it's $19.99 plugin called Retro Visitors Counter. And this is, how many of you remember GeoCities? Do you remember GeoCities? Did anybody have GeoCities account? Do you remember the counters they had on those things that were there for you at the bottom of the page? Yeah, okay, so that's what you're going to get here. Retro, where is it? Retro Visitors Counter. Let's look at the settings, or where is it? Tools, where is it? Oh, it's a widget, that's right. All right, so let's put it in the sidebar. Now let's clear out some of these from before. All right, Retro Visitors Counter. And we can give it a title. Do we want dark mode, light mode? Let's make it light mode. And now we have in our, there you go. Look at that. Who doesn't want that? Really? You gotta love that. Or dark mode. Boom. There's your classic lime green on black. You gotta love it. Come on, everybody visit page 4 and let's get that counter going, will ya? Let's go to page 4. Get the counter spinning. Because this is, let's party like it's $19.99. There you go. Okay. So, by the way, the developer is breaking WordPress community plugin guidelines by making this link to his page in the WordPress plugin library. You can't do that. You can't add a link, nor can you add a powered by without, it cannot be on by default, and you have to allow it to be disabled. Anyhow, I just thought that was funny. All we're missing is that animated mailbox and the spinning flaming skull. So there you go. Not that you're actually going to use this, but I thought it was kind of fun. Retro Visitor Counter. Last but certainly not least, how many of you know what the WAPU is? Are you familiar with WAPU? So WAPU is the official mascot of WordPress. There is a field guide for all the WAPUs around. This is run by a friend of mine. They're wonderful. There's lots of different WAPUs. So a lot of WordCamps make their own WAPU. Matter of fact, let's see. I think ours is in here from WordCamp Birmingham. Maybe not. Nope, our WAPU didn't get uploaded. But most WordCamps have their own WAPU, and there they are. So, and you can find a little more information. Anyhow, what this does is it brings WAPU to your dashboard. And what WAPU in your dashboard does is something a little bit like Clippy, but not nearly as annoying. So let us activate the WAPU dashboard pet. And let's look at it here on the dashboard. Look at that. Oh, isn't that great? Okay, now here's the fun thing. As your WordPress installation gets more and more out of date, the WAPU becomes more and more concerned. So let's go and activate WP Rollback, which is a plugin that allows us to roll back to previous versions of things. And let's, none in that one. Let's roll back. Now there's none in that one. Those are brand new. Let's roll back pods to a previous version. We'll just get a couple of things out of date here. And let's do this one. No, that's brand new. Let's do WooCommerce. And now we'll have a look at the WAPU. Look, oh, it's a sad WAPU. Oh, two things are out of date. Let's roll back. Nope, can't do that one. Let's roll back this one. We'll do a few more here. We could roll back WP Rollback. That would be kind of like crossing the streams, I think. Ah. Now we'll look at our WAPU. Oh no, that's really concerned. Look at that. Oh, it gets sadder and sadder. Let's see what else we can roll back here. Can't roll back premium plugins. We can do disable comments. So let's roll back that one. Let's roll back easy theme and plugin updates. Let's not, roll back WordPress. We could. Look, it's getting more and more. That's got a concussion and a broken foot. I love it. Okay, I don't know, will this let us roll back WordPress? Let's see. We had a plugin, we just did a plugin, I think, last time that would let us roll back WordPress itself. I can't remember what that was called. Let's do a couple more of these, though. I think Minimalist Editor, I think that one's brand new. Yeah. Let's see. Shortcode Scrubber was brand new. I think we've rolled back everything that we can roll back. Yeah, we know we probably can roll back iThemes Sync. Yep. Because that is a free plugin. That's still in pretty bad shape. That may be as bad as it gets. I think that's all we can roll back. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, no, there's one. All right, this will be it. We'll see how far it goes. Yep, that's as bad as it gets. And it doesn't matter how far out of date they are. It just counts how many plugins are up to date. And the poor WAPU is in such bad shape. Let's make WAPU happy. Let's update all our plugins. Okay, now WAPU should be happy again. Yay, it loves us. So there you go. That is Wapuu Dashboard Pet. I mean, how can you not love that? That's just great. Also, you can grab this image and do whatever you want to with it. All right, that is it. Ben, is it displayed for all the roles? I have no idea. Let's find out. Let's go to Editor. It is displayed for Editor. That's the only one I have, actually, though. I don't have another role here. My guess is it would not be there for subscribers, but maybe for authors. All right, thus we have reached the end of another iThemes training plugin roundup. October 2018 is in the books, so we'll end up with a question we always finish with, which is, which was your favorite plugin of the month? You get one vote only, favorite plugin. And remember, I do go back and review these when we do our the best of for every 6 months. So safe mode, Wapuu, real-time title checker, another for Wapuu. A couple more for safe mode, a couple for admin menu editor, safe mode, shortcode one, safe mode, copy track, safe mode. Looks like safe mode's taking it away. Fun stuff. All right, folks. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour and a few minutes. Hope this has been some fun for you. I will update the incorrect URLs here on the Plugin Roundup handout, and we'll get that uploaded to the, just use the same link, and it'll be downloadable here in just a few minutes. All right, folks, that is it. We have a number of webinars coming up on iThemes training that you should be aware of. Let me get that up here. Anna Blanchard is back with us on Tuesday, talking about how to find the right attorney for your WordPress business. That's a really important subject, and she's going to talk all about that. We got Michael Moore from iThemes Security talking about the top 5 WordPress security vulnerabilities coming up next Wednesday. And Diane Whidden is back with us on the 18th on how to create a powerful brand that attracts customers. Aaron Flynn is back on the 23rd about getting useful feedback from your clients. And there's several more here stacked out through the end of the year as well. So make sure you are registered for all of these webinars if you have not yet already. You can also add the calendar link to your iCal feed if you'd like. This will download an iCal file that will get those webinars piped into your calendar, and those stay up to date. The question is Thursday the new day for roundups? Probably. Yeah, probably. But it just depends. Like December, we couldn't do it on a Thursday. Just kind of watch it, but it's likely going to be the first Thursday of the month from here forward. All right. Well, that's it, folks. We'll have the replay up in a little bit, and we'll see you next time on iThemes Training, where we go further together.